At this point, I'd like to open the special permit hearing for 165 Housatonic Street. I'd like to let everyone know the format we'll be going with tonight. The applicants will give their presentation. The board will go through their questions, and we have written questions that we're going to submit to the applicants to take back and come back with answers. And after the board is done, will be open to the public. Okay. All right, gentlemen, you're up.
Thank you. Members of the board, my name is Jeff Lynch. I am from Lynch Scrimmel Attorneys. I represent the applicant. With me is Brian Sider from Foresight Engineering Services, who has put together the site plan and design paperwork for everyone's review. We are here to address 165 Housatonic Street, the current location of the Pilgrim Inn. It's Assessor's Map 0, Lot 4. The applicant is proposing to remove the existing structures on the building and build a new hotel. The existing site is approximately 3.5 acres. With the development as it sits right now, it is non-conforming. It's non-conforming as to its use as a hotel and also in terms of the dimensional requirements. I think I say that because I think in the past, a special permit, I think it predates permitting requirements.
Because it's a split zone.
Yeah.
And the back of the hotel is in our district.
Correct. And thank you for pointing that out. This is a split zone. The majority of the lot is the CBC Commercial Business District zone, where the rear of the lot is the R20. And we'll be addressing that as one of our special permit requests also today. Because the property is non-conforming in terms of some of the buildings that are on the property, I think one of our highlights is with this redevelopment of the site, we're actually becoming more compliant with the zoning requirements of the town of Lee. The proposed new hotel will be constructed solely within the CBC district, with the parking area only impacting the residential zone. We will meet all of the requirements for lot size, for setbacks, front, rear, and side setbacks. We will also meet the height requirements and the lot coverage. I want to start with a lot coverage requirement or allowance in the town of Lee. Lot coverage, as the board is aware, is the amount of development that can impact the size of the lot. It is set at 35% of the required lot size. Once built, our hotel will only be 7.74% of the allowed area on this lot. So arguably, the town, through its zoning ordinance, would allow much or many more structures or a larger structure to occupy the space on the lot. So we're well below that. Another thing to point out is that the lot is currently served by 2 curb cuts. We're proposing to eliminate one of the curb cuts. That's consistent with one of the purposes and goals of your zoning ordinance, which is to minimize the entrances and exits onto Housatonic Street. So we also feel that that is a benefit for congestion, but
I think we're gonna keep both.
oh, we're keeping
We're just realign.
okay, realign that. Sorry, I retract that. But so we will fill out the 2, but in any event, it's currently served by the 2 curb cuts. It will be realigned with full traffic analysis being done by DOT because it's a state highway also. So they'll have some jurisdictional input onto safety and any additional requirements that they may want to impose relative to sightline and traffic patterns, entering and exiting the site. So to start with what we're requesting of the board today, we are requesting a few special permits, and we're also requesting site plan approval. In the CBC zone, a hotel is allowed with site plan approval. So Brian is here to speak about the details of the site plan after I conclude sort of the opening comments and what we're requesting. So that would be one request that we're making. The reference to your zoning ordinance is section 199, 4.2 G4. Another special permit that is being requested is for the portion of this property which is in the R20 zone. In order to locate the parking lot in that area of the property, we do need a special permit. Again, part of your consideration is that this is a non-conforming redevelopment. And so the standard is looking at what is existing on the site right now, how that hotel use is impacting the established neighborhood, which is both commercial, residential, and the master plan for the town of Lee designates this as the highway corridor. So identified as running from the Mass Turnpike all the way up to High Street. And so I think that implies, or it implies to me when I read it, is that this is much more of a highly commercialized area of the town. And it's evident as we drive that area between the McDonald's, the gas stations, the newly constructed Starbucks, Dunkin's, the other hotels that are right in the area. This is certainly complementary to all of those uses, acknowledging, of course, that this is all intermixed within some residential uses and some adjacent residential uses. Another special permit is the extension of the CBC zoning district back another 50 feet. And so what your zoning ordinance allows you to do is, because we're in the split zone, is within the board's discretion to just extend that zone an additional 50 feet from that. I think it's the eastern property line is what we're requesting. I don't think that's a necessary grant for this permit to go forward, but I think it makes sense to include it within our request because it is a more appropriate use to say that we're in the commercial zone as this commercial hotel is developed with its parking lot that's obviously necessary to the development. So considering just a slightly larger portion of the property as is allowed as within the CBC district, I think it just makes sense. Although the remaining of the parking lot is in the R20 zone, which again is subject to your special permit grant. And then this last point is section 199, 5.1, section B9. This was a recent amendment to the zoning ordinance in 2025, I believe. And what that says, or how it reads, is that the planning board has the ability to allow a structure up to 50 feet tall and 4 stories. It doesn't say that it's a special permit. It says that the permit granting authority has the right in its discretion to allow that height standard to be met. Because it doesn't require a special permit, I submit to the board for its consideration and discussion that it does not require a supermajority of the board to be allowed. Supermajorities are restricted and limited to when special permits are required, when other items of how your zoning ordinance are written are simply allowances that would only require a majority vote of this board. So in looking at, and then the final is, of course, the reconstruction of the non-conforming structure. So if we start with the idea that we have non-conforming structure here, where your zoning ordinance allows that to then be raised, reconstructed, reconfigured, and obviously we're admitting that we are going to a greater extent to what is already on site. What is on site today is 24 hotel rooms over 2 different buildings, an exterior swimming pool and patio area with 50 parking spaces. Our reconstruction is for the building as laid out on the plans that are available with the materials. It will end up with 70 74 rooms with 83 parking spaces. The 83 parking spaces actually exceed what is required under the ordinance. The ordinance requires 1 parking space for each room and then 1 parking space for each employee. With the efficiencies that my client and their management team are able to implement, they anticipate having about 5 employees at site at any time. There will also be 4 handicap parking spots, which meets the parking requirements for this facility. In looking at any special permit, the board is of course guided by the standards that are well stated and cross-referenced in your ordinance. The number 1 issue that you're always asked to consider and make a finding for is that the structure as proposed is in compliance with all provisions and requirements of this chapter and in harmony with its general intent and purpose. It's absolutely our the facts I think laid out in the application show that we meet all of the requirements of your zoning ordinance. Hotels are anticipated in this area. Hotels exist in this area, along with all of the adjacent, more commercialized uses. So, per the master plan, Lee recognizes that its economy is in part based upon tourism, attracting tourists, getting tourists to stay and choose Lee out of the other communities that they have the options to stay with. We feel that upgrading this site to a modern hotel will attract additional visitors, will bring additional revenue to the town through taxation. Obviously, the value of this building, as in comparison to what is there already, is going to increase the tax base. And there'll be a level of employment seen just from the construction services during the period of time that it will take to build out this building. So we think it is certainly within your discretion to find that the new hotel in this location fits the general intent and purpose of the town's master plan and the zoning ordinance as enacted. Number 2, the structure is either essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare at its proposed location. Again, acknowledging fully that this commercial corridor does have adjacent residential uses. Those residential uses have coexisted with this existing hotel, other hotels, gas stations, McDonald's, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts for years and years. We don't see any reason why the change, although it's more rooms, will negatively impact the neighborhood. We are taking buildings that are within the residential district closer to these residential homes and moving them away, further away from them. We're locating the new hotel within the CBC district, close to Housatonic Street. We think that it will be an improvement for the neighbors overall to the existing conditions as they sit today. In terms of the public convenience, I will just mention again, I think you can consider the tax base that will be generated and the tax income and the benefit to the town that will be served by that. Additionally, there's the income to businesses with the additional rooms and visitors that this will attract to the town of Lee. There's a number, all the restaurants and stores that I've just mentioned are within walking distance. The downtown corridor is easily walkable distance with sidewalks. We think that this will be a benefit to the town overall and taken on balance with any negative impacts that may be perceived can certainly be mitigated by the good design that we're putting forth and other remedial measures on the site. Number 3 is the structure and or use will not be detrimental to adjacent uses or the established or future character of the neighborhood. Again, I think my commentary on the last 2 points address that. For the board, 4, there will not be undue traffic congestion or undue impairment to pedestrian safety. We're certainly feel that given highway corridor designation that we have, the location to these other retail uses that have high traffic patterns, the fact that this is already a hotel that is serving a certain number of rooms, the stepped increase from 24 room usage up to 75 or 74 is not material enough for this board to find that is going to impair public safety or create undue congestion on Housatonic Street, which is so heavily traveled as it is. Again, to reiterate, our application will be in with DOT, and we will take into consideration any of their requirements that will set forth on us to make sure that any concerns that they have regarding these safety issues are also fully addressed. And then finally, the structure and or use will not overload any public water, drainage, source system, or municipal facilities. This special permit, I believe, has been circulated to the various departments in town. I'm not aware of any of negative comments that have come back, but clearly this property and all like properties in this area served by public water and sewer. Our calculations were set forth in the application about the expected usage, and the town of Lee has the capacity to address and support this facility. So with that, those are our opening comments. Your questions may dovetail into the site plan questions that we have, in which case Brian and I will both do our best to answer those questions and then accept the other commentary to address posts.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, sure.
Can you clarify for us the situation about non-complying and non-conforming structures and uses? Is the existing structure non-conforming? Or is the use non-conforming, and in what ways?
The existing building in the rear of the property is closer to the setback distance than is allowed. So that would make that
And that's what triggers the section 6.2 review of the special permit that allows for extension of non-conforming.
Yes, you could utilize that, and that's why we included in the application. If we were here as if this was a vacant lot, fully open, I think your zoning ordinance allows you to permit on site plan approval a hotel in this location.
Thank you.
But you're not increasing the nonconformity.
You're not, we're
No.
approving,
Not even sure if you need that part of it, but
yes.
sir, do you have anything to add? Went out with this?
Yeah, and just note
Can we
that-
go over the plan a little bit? Yeah.
Just thinking Bush's plan, and just note that building closer to the stream, which is, further from the road, that building exists in the residential zone as it is. So that's not conforming that way as well, to a portion of the other building, which is up against the setback lines. Like you said, it's within the side setback. The, reconstruction. The proposed condition. Or to move the building entirely, so this line here, across the property line, that's the distinction between the CBC and the residential zone. So the new building will be entirely within the commercial district. And then we're asking for the 50-foot extension mainly for the parking area. So the buildings themselves will be further from both the stream and the residential. So it's more conforming that way as well. I'd highlight safety and old buildings. This is gonna be ADA accessible. It's gonna conforming to not only, traffic flow, but parking required. Are any questions on site plan?
Do you have any, do you have street view on the architecturals anywhere?
I do in the application. I don't have a large print of that. There's elevation to
Yeah, your elevations.
the end. Or it's.
You got it.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, that's not. Wow.
Can you please show that picture to the crowd?
This picture here?
Yeah.
I guess this is the proposed
I
site
think we
plan.
need to
More
more something like that.
Between the commercial
Yeah.
district or the street and the residential zone on that.
Is that in your questions, right? Okay.
6 feet from the street, moving the building towards the road, or 65 feet from the street.
Did you see Conrad's?
Oh, yeah, I have Conrad.
Okay. There probably a lot of them are.
Yeah, I think we,
Yeah.
I think Conrad actually hit all the questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, something.
I am the site, and like you said, the submission,
It's within this.
yeah, if you look around.
So existing condition, this is a motel, there's 3 separate buildings. One is here, again, right next to the screen in the back, there's another one along this side setback, this is Starbucks here next to it. And then there's a large pool area to set up the parking lot, so we demolishing all of these buildings and just. So
It's a split lot. We didn't allow that today. Oh, the 4-story. Yeah. That's part of the special permit.
Wonder if I could ask you a couple of general questions.
Yeah, I think we'll start with the board member questions now. Peter,
And mind if I
yeah, go ahead.
I just, it's not a detailed question, but I just, looking at your layout, I think I've got a non-colorized version of what you have in your hand there. It looks to me like the lot is quite a bit larger than the area that you're going to be actively developing. Because there's a brook that runs through the middle of it,
Right.
sort of on a diagonal, and there's a bank, fairly steep looking bank judging from the contours. That's to the right or the east end, is that right?
Yeah, so there's a stream that runs more or less along the center of the property. It extends another 1.5 acres or more uphill. We're only redeveloping the existing.
Part
area
southwest
west
of the stream, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I think the total lot is 3.1 acres.
Now, are you relocating the stream at all?
The stream, no. Under the Wetland Protection Act, we're not altering the stream at all. We're making improvements along the bank where the existing building is. That'll be redeveloped into both stormwater mitigation, which is a large retention basin, filter stormwater, and then it'll be replanted and seeded. And we're proposing native plantings there as well, so.
And
Along the stream, there'll be vegetating.
thank you. And just, I guess you've explained it to the audience, but the building you're proposing, the main line of the building is going to be parallel to the street. Is that right?
Correct.
And that, did you say would be how many feet back?
But it's 65 feet from the stream, so it's again further away than the existing building. From the street, I believe it's about 6 feet from the street.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. At this time also, I'd like to submit for the record to the board, we have a series of letters. Everyone had it in their packet. There's one Marilyn Wyatt initiated with multiple signatures. You guys all see that? There's that one. And then I believe we have one from the guy from Berkshire Liquors is in here. Yep, David Rael. Right? And then one from Nancy McLaughlin. Okay, we can put that all into the record. Right, I think Conrad has a list of questions that we're gonna give you guys in writing. He's gonna run through them now. So the public can hear the questions we are asking. All right, Conrad, you're up.
It's basically, this is a list of 4 pages of questions. In the interest of time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna recite the question. I'm not gonna ask for a response. This is not gonna be a one-night event, I'm sure. So what I'll do is I'll ask a question, and I'll just go on to the next one. Next time you folks come in, if you wouldn't mind, just keep addressing each one of these.
Okay.
It just could be easier, more, expedient. Because we'll be here to 1 in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Have to look lots. So I'll recite the question and we'll just keep going. So first question, historically, the Pilgrim was a new mom and pop. Louder, Conrad, please. Historically, the Pilgrim Motel was a mom and pop, non-franchisee motel operation. The question is the current owner going to develop and operate this Marriott franchise? Will the current owner have a separate Marriott trained operations team? Okay, don't need an answer, just like to get a response to that. The applicant will require various special permits to be tested in accordance with section 199(13.4) of the zoning bylaws. Counsel for the applicant should consider preparing a draft findings for its arguments in defending the 5 mandatory tests required to meet the granting of these various special permits. We would just ask you to prepare a draft of that so we can understand what your opinion is on that. Okay. Under site plans, it seems like the intent was an effort by the applicant to keep the new proposed hotel building completely within the CBC zone portion of this split zone property. This effectively takes the already pre-existing non-conforming hotel buildings off of the R20 portion. Was that the original intent of this design? Regarding the proposed 4-story structure versus perhaps an alternate 3-story structure. On a 75-room hotel, it seems a 4-story structure would have a smaller building footprint to fit within the property envelope. A 3-story structured 75-room hotel would occupy a much larger footprint. Is that correct? Have you looked at the 3-story structure 75-room hotel alternative? Again, that's just want to know if that had been looked at. The outside pool up front will be removed. There were no floor plans provided. Will there be another pool located either inside the new building or another pool located outside? That was not clear.
Do you mind if we just answer that one right here? Because I think it addresses one of the comments on
Sure.
that they raised.
Yeah, so an original design did show an outdoor pool, we moved it inside, so this building shows a slightly expanded footprint that it includes an indoor. So.
So there's no
pool
outside,
outside,
no outside pool.
yes, and part of that was also outside.
Okay. Let's see. How is the screening or fencing proposed for the Patel abutters to the northeast? Probably not necessary for the contiguous Starbucks parcel unless the existing fences were going to remain. The deciduous forest buffer to the east is very dense. Want just to be sure that this is not going to be disturbed, thus impacting any of the abutters to the east. There was no landscape plan provided in the original package, and by the bylaw, it indicates one will actually be required. So when would we be able to expect it? If we don't have it here tonight, I suspect you will provide one during the next round. How is snow storage being handled? There doesn't appear to be any identified snow storage areas shown on the site plans. Please provide. Unfortunately, it looks like the applicant has taken out several mature 7-inch diameter and up to 20-inch diameter maple trees along the frontage on Housatonic Street along the front property line. What are the landscape plans to replace any vegetation along that hotel frontage? It is our understanding that the existing 2-story building to the south is currently owned by the applicant under a separate LLC. What will the use of that building be? It looks like tenants are currently residing in there now, and with their tenant parking shared on what will be the Fairfield inside. If you go down there right now, you'll see there's parking on the Pilgrim side for this building on the side that's currently already owned by the same owner. Different LLC, we understand, but controlled by the same, the same owner. Since that contiguous piece is controlled by the principal owners of the Pilgrim property, have the owners and their engineers looked at perhaps blending that piece with the Pilgrim and the possibility that the new Fairfield building footprint could be expanded, thus lowering the 4-story profile down to perhaps a 3-story profile? Okay, I don't need an answer, just wondering if that possibility was looked at. Well, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand the question.
Gotcha.
Yes.
The parking ratios calculated from the Fairfield project will need 80 car parking required and 80 car parking shown, that has been shown on the plans. There cannot be any joint or shared car parking for the southerly building, as the Fairfield parking is already maxed. 80 required, 80 shown. But if a contiguous building next door is utilizing some of this parking, that can't happen. If you had surplus parking, that's one thing, but you don't have surplus parking. How is the, yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is, on that building to the south, if they can't use this parking on the Fairfield piece, you guys should be showing us how that parking for that other southerly building is going to be accomplished. How is the access to that southerly building expected to be accomplished? As currently it's accessed from Housatonic Street via the Pilgrim property. There are no curb cuts on this other building. So provide us with an answer on what that access arrangement is going to be along with the parking. The existing Pilgrim dumpster location is not shown, but I see when you go down to the site, it is now on site today within the R20 zone. And obviously it's going to be in a different spot. How often is that dumpster pickup expected to be for this new dumpster location? The proposed dumpster appears to be 1 foot off the property line within the R20 setback. Is that considered a structure, and will that actually be allowed? That could be a question for you guys. It might be a question for our zoning enforcement officer. Is the dumpster, the new dumpster enclosure, 1 foot off the property line within the setback in an R20 zone? Is that going to be allowed? We just need opinion.
And screening.
Yes. I see plan notes that indicate the demolition of the existing curb cut to the north. Why are you demolishing that curb cut, but not showing or dimensioning the new position? What are the new driveway widths going to be for both driveways, as there are no dimensions on either one of them? Will both driveways be considered full access in and out driveways, as they are today? Parking spaces are shown on the plan as a 9 by 18 in plan, and also the detail sheets. None of the plans indicate the actual aisle widths dimensions between the parking spaces or the parking spaces in the building, although some seem to scale less than 24 foot. If you have two 90-degree parking stalls, you have to have a minimum of 24-foot aisle. I didn't have a big plan when I scaled it off of the small ones. It looks like those aisles are something less than 24 feet. They got to be 24 feet. With regard to the dumpster pad, I see that the concrete pad construction details are there, but there are no enclosure details. What is the enclosure material going to be? Is it going to be block? Is it going to be fencing? What is it going to be? What is the dumpster gates composition going to be? What is the curbing material around the perimeter of the new parking area? Is it going to be granite? Is it going to be bit curb? Is it going to be concrete? There does appear to be some granite curb details in the plan detail sheet that you have, but I'm not sure if that maybe is just the granite curbing around the perimeter of the building. Just got to know what that's going to be. What is the dimension freestanding pylon sign exhibit? Where is it? What is the proposed pylon sign setbacks going to be from Housatonic Street? Where are the dimension building wall sign exhibits? What is the proposed illumination for all of these signs? Part of the special permit and the site plan approval process. We have to have those details itemized within the package. With regard to traffic and the driveway, Housatonic Street currently carries an AADT count of 13,571 cars. That's a 2024 AADT count. Other than the traffic impact narrative that was provided in the application, based on the ITE code, use code 310. Does Mass DOT believe a traffic study needs to be performed as there appears to be a tripling of the average peak daily trips from 192 trips per day versus 611 post-construction trips, or plus 414 additional total trips per day out of those driveways? Did you receive a written Mass DOT District 1 assessment on the project impact, despite the fact that these two existing driveways are suggested to be unchanged? Need to confirm that this project does not exceed the MEPA thresholds for this type of application. It does appear to be an advantage whereby there's a center turn lane in the front of the property frontage, because the property has significant frontage on Housatonic Street. That is an advantage. There is an advantage of actually splitting the foot generation over the two driveways versus the one driveway. The difference would be like at the quality end, where you have one driveway in the front where the primary access is. Yeah, that's DOT concur with this advantage of having a center lane in the front. Can the applicant provide, for comparison, the number of rooms at the Quality Inn across the street, which is also a franchise hotel operation? The comparison might be on the X number of rooms at the Quality Inn with one driveway compares with a proposed 75-room Fairfield, just to get an idea of scale of what the Quality Inn room numbers are versus this one here, and what the traffic impacts are. So we would have an idea of, we see what's down there for a franchise hotel arrangement. How would that compare to this one?
Are you just asking us to provide the number of rooms that the Quality Inn has, or actual trip count in and out of their
No.
driveway?
Just a number of rooms.
Okay.
Just for a comparative, we're talking about 24, 26 rooms that are here today.
Yeah.
Versus 75 that are being proposed, and what is the Quality Inn? Just so we have an idea of what the impacts are down there versus what they could be here.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about 10% more rooms, 15% more room. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're asking you to let us know what that is. With regard to the projected estimated construction cost, what is the proposed construction cost estimate for this hotel build going to be? What is the expected construction timeline, just so we have an idea? What is the anticipated real estate tax and room tax benefit to the town of Lee should this be approved? And that could be based on what your construction costs are. And I guess we might be able to get analysis inside here. What?
There is one in our packet of the other hotels in the area.
Okay, so they'll give us an idea of what the what the rooms tax impact would be anyway.
Yep.
With regard to drainage and stormwater, I guess I would be asking the board's consideration here. Do we feel we need a stormwater management peer review? There is significant stormwater elements to this project, especially as it affects the brook, the retention bases between the parking area and where the Barnes Brook is going to be. It's a question for us. I'm just not sure if we need peer review of that.
We have been in front of Conservation Commission, and Conservation Commission has hired a peer review already. To
Okay, so
address
it's
that.
already been done.
They have that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, it's already been done. All right,
It's in progress.
okay. The Foresight Land Survey Plan, as well as proposed drainage and grading plan, show the existing and proposed contours on the subject property site today. None of the plans, either the grading plan, the drainage plan, or the survey, shows the topography of off-site elevations or contours around the perimeter of the property, be it 10 feet past or 20 feet past. The reasoning is when you look at the existing contours versus your proposed grading plans, there is a flow off the property going off towards Starbucks, for example, that unless you know what those spot elevations are on the Starbucks plan, you have no idea what the impact of how, is there a drainage swell there? I mean, it's going to impact there. You just don't know because it doesn't show up on the plan. It doesn't show up on the survey. It doesn't show up on the grading. So I guess I'm asking, there should be some form of topography shown on the off-site, not just the on-site.
At the edge.
I see where the floodplain map, drive and package. I would ask that you illustrate the zone A delineation placed on the actual grading plan to demonstrate where the actual floodplain limits are relative to the development plan and its topography. There was a cut and fill plan provided, but there was no computation or illustration of any compensatory storage adjustments relative to the zone A disturbances. Will there be such a computation provided? Barnes Brook appears to be a perennial stream, and the plans show that the required wetland buffers. It is assumed that the Wetland Protection Act is being addressed by Concom. I guess just a comment. Regarding stormwater management mitigation on the R20 side, what are the pre and post impervious areas for the buildings and paving on the R20 side? In other words, is it less impervious, more impervious on the R20 side? The 100-year storm event, it was suggested that there would be an average reduction of 1.12 CFS or a 12.6 decrease in peak flows in the 100-year storm event. That seemed kind of odd to me, but I'm just asking if that's correct. All drainage contours in the front of the property seem to sheet flow towards the street. Was there no effort to collect and retain stormwater discharge on site instead of sheet flowing to the street? Your gradients from basically the building forward all sheet flow to the street. The drainage on the north side of the building sheet draining towards the Starbucks. The contours on the south side, the sheet drain back to the contiguous property owned by the owner, and also towards the back. When it goes to the back, there is a stormwater retention basin that's adjacent to the brook area. So, that is that a forebay program, or is that that stormwater retention basin? Is a quarter up? Okay. There appears to be an outline for a stormwater management maintenance plan in your package. I guess once that's assembled, that's a maintenance plan that we want to make sure that was a part of any decision should one approval be granted. I don't see a separate sediment erosion control plan. I see that there is straw wattle details, silt shack details, but only the only erosion perimeter was demonstrated along the Barnes Brook wetland area to the south and to the east. I see no sediment erosion control elements along the northerly property line that would be in common with the Starbucks, for example. The construction activities are ensuing on your property, but again, the sheet flows are going off property, and there's no stormwater erosion measures taken along that property. Almost done, guys. On the ADS plans, you see there's a subsurface storage chambers placed inside the paved driveway area in front of the new hotel. The construction details shows it's placed under the paved area. What are the proposed subsurface chamber diameters? The diameters weren't noted. Unless there's a stormwater calculation somewhere that indicates what those diameters are. But the chamber details, they don't show what the diameters are. It's not indicating, because of the size of the chambers, you have to have a 12-inch cover over it or 24-inch cover on it. You have a detail that shows how a 12-inch and 24-inch cover would be addressed. It's just not indicating what the diameter of the pipes are and what the depth of the chambers would be. These chambers, are they for stormwater drainage storage, or are they perforated for recharge? Again, it wasn't clear. I see the contact and the ADS details, but where are they located and how are they tied into the aforementioned subsurface drainage system? It looks like at one point when it comes out of the building, got manways in that area. It looks like there might be a discharge into the storage chambers. There's no outlet or invert. it shows where it's being directed. And some of it looks like it might be directed to the stormwater system in the streets. So is this a storage to slow stormwater discharge in a 100-year event? Or is it for recharge? Again, you don't have to answer, it's a question. Usually. Okay, have there been any test borings done on the property? Was the seasonal groundwater elevation in this area relative to the bottom elevation of these proposed storms, subsurface storage chambers? Again, if it's perforated for recharge, I think you'd want to know what the seasonal groundwater elevation would be, because that would affect the functionality of the system itself. There doesn't appear to be any catchment areas illustrated around the catch basins or the intercepts with any associated rim elevations, although there are specific details of the drainage structures in the site detail sheets. How is stormwater being directed and collected towards those proposed subsurface storage chambers? Again, it's not clear. Where is the building roof drainage being directed to from this 11,000 square foot roof down over the building? How is that being directed? Got downspouts out to the pavement, is it being directed to the storage chambers? Again, it's not illustrated in the plan, but how that's being affected. I mean, that's a good sized area of roof that's going to have a substantial discharge, especially on a 100-year event. With regard to the building, a 4-story, 50-foot structure, has the applicant reviewed with the fire chief regarding any firefighting capabilities, the fire suppression for this building, have fire lanes and truck access being reviewed? Perhaps it has. I haven't seen it. Will the project architect be describing the building materials and the wall treatment as proposed on the building elevations? I see there's a color palette for the building that's being shown, but no materials, no textures, nothing. We have no idea what those are. We have an exhibit of showing what it would look like in a photograph, but it's not telling us anything about the building. With regard to lighting, it seems like the Isolux lighting detail, it does appear to be compliant with the candle spread at the contiguous abutters property lines. That seems to be compliant with the code. I did see the light cuts. I just want to confirm that what the max height of the light poles is 20 feet. I'm assuming it's for that Isolux plan. Is there any ability to put a lower light fixture in? To mitigate any other? It seems like the foot candle spread is actually appropriate for what you're proposing here. I guess I'm just questioning the height of the pole, if that could be reduced. The other issue is your Isolux plan is showing the lighting for the parking lot based on 20-foot poles. There was no lighting details with regard to any wall packs or undersoffit lighting on the building. We have no idea what kind of light spread or what kind of visual impact that would be, either from the street or to the butters to the back. With regard to utilities, it appears there will be a 3,100 gallon per day increase in the stormwater discharge flow rate. Has that been reviewed with our DPW, the municipality, the building to absorb this? Again, just a question. The property seems to be served by existing overhead utilities, which will carry over into the proposed hotel building. Have you considered going underground versus the aerial? Again, just a question. That's
Bravo.
That's it? It's 4 pages. All right, so Tim, do you have anything to add to that?
Conrad was very thorough. So just a clarification question. So in the application, you both refer to 75 rooms and you refer to 74 rooms tonight. And so can you clarify for us in the plan, has that changed? Or
Just misspeak, 74 rooms. 75 rooms, so they did it again.
Why don't you confirm that by writing? Yeah.
That one's gonna be that'll make the difference.
Put that on my list.
That's the bus driver's room.
And then additionally, so the plan up here and the plan that I'm looking at here, which has the lighting plan, shows slightly different building outlines, as well as this one has the outdoor patio, I think with the outdoor pool. So can you describe the changes between what we're seeing here in the application and what's shown up here?
The original booklet.
Lighting
Yeah,
plan.
you gave us.
I think the lighting plan, like, probably is, or the pool change,
Okay.
depends on the date, so.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think planning was like the.
Right, yeah.
The pool on the rest of it, not.
Yeah.
That was what was kind of confusing.
So, right, so this has changed to bring the pool inside and then lessen the patio area? And then would there be lighting fixtures on the patio area as well?
This matches that other plan. Are you referring to the underground storage chambers?
No,
Pool's not shown on it.
in the back, there's the patio area. I assume that's gonna have lighting. We're gonna wanna see that lighting. As well as what Conrad said,
Right, like
The
it's
wall-
gonna be, this is much smaller, is it going to be lit by fixtures external to the building, or is it gonna be like that outside soffit?
Right, it's been reduced, so the lighting plan shows an actual larger area.
right, but you're gonna have lighting in that area. You're gonna have wall packs. You're gonna have landscape lighting. That's all. We're gonna have to see that. Okay?
Leave there showing on the lighting.
But the lighting plan has the other building. Has the building with a pool on the outside. So it's not consistent.
Right, but the lighting is less now. It's the patio.
We still don't know what the
We need to
patio,
Update the lighting. plan.
Yep. that's all we're saying, gotta update it. With the wall packs. Cause that's important. You're gonna have wall packs.
Okay, and so, couple questions about the capacity. So, how many employees currently work at the Pilgrim Inn? Do you know?
It's less than 5.
Okay, because you're tripling the proposal is to essentially triple the capacity of the building. And that has major impact in terms of maintenance, and the proposal is only for 5 employees. So considering cleaning staff, front office, this seems management, it seems like an incredibly low number to maintain a building of this size. And so what is the employment plan? Like what, and like is 5 actually a reasonable number for this, or are we talking that the staff should be 10 or something, in which case the parking is insufficient?
Right.
You're right at the edge here in terms of the parking. And so any need to increase the employment would mean you are out of compliance.
I understand that. So with the supplemental responses, we'll address how Marriott staffs and the relative efficiencies that are built into a new structure and how that impacts employee count.
You all set?
Yep.
Okay, I'll skip over me. Dave?
My first question is, when are you gonna have a more complete plan ready? Because Conrad asked a lot of questions, and if you had the plan, we could answer them right in-house. You know, do you have a set construction building plans yet?
These are draft permitting plans. Need some time to look through those comments and we're just receiving a lot of those things like. Come back.
Okay, and on the traffic study, is DOT gonna make that decision since it's more or less their road?
We'll have to apply for a DOT access permit. Did the abbreviated traffic study. Included in a submission.
Okay. Have you looked into the size supply lines for water and sewer? just to make sure that the town lines will handle your new flow, because your inflow increased quite a bit on the sewer side. Was anybody looked into them through the town or?
We did have a discussion with the town about the appropriate, whether it can handle it or not, but.
Yeah.
We had discussions, preliminary discussion with the town about whether the capacity existed. But utility. So in terms of what that line size is, I don't know that offhand.
Did anybody tell you that this is gonna generate a capacity fee, a tie-in fee from the Department of Public Works?
That's just.
Okay. What else do I have? Oh, the brook. Will the brook handle the new flow that we're gonna, especially in a high water condition? Is that it has history of going over the road. So you should take a peek at that brook, and make sure that it's clear of any obstacle, big rocks, give it a clear shot towards the river. Not, I'm telling you not to dig it, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I've seen videos of flooding that's happened at the brook. We've addressed that in both our stormwater plan and our wet permitting. We're improving the conditions surrounding the stream, so. You know, we don't stop the flooding, that's going to naturally happen, but we alleviate any impacts to how it would affect the site downstream as the regulations require. You know, we're reducing the peak flows off the site. We're moving the buildings away from the stream. So we're lowering the grades at the banks of the stream. And so there's less impact to the actual floodway. From this project. Stormwater.
As long as that brook will take a new flow, that's all, because it's not much of a brook.
But it's based on the 100-year flood.
Yeah.
Regulatory.
I think the other point that we emphasized with the Conservation Commission is the existing conditions at this site don't have any stormwater system at all. So this is subject to sheet flow, completely no mitigation measures. So we're intending to improve the site to actually decrease the pace by which any water will eventually reach or dissipate. It doesn't even reach, it's not directed to the stream itself. Whereas your existing conditions in a heavy rainstorm, it's just sheet flow wherever the grade takes.
Good. That's it for me.
Hi, I've got two matters, one of which is very minor and the other which will require, I think, some discussion. The minor matter, I hope, is who is the applicant? The applicant is listed as Mohammed Zia. And one of the citizen letters we received said that Mohammed Zia is not listed as an officer of the applicant corporation. Could you describe what Mr. Mohammed Zia's role is here? Oh, it's Ibrahim?
He's
Oh, Ibrahim, I'm sorry.
the,
I'm very sorry, Mr. Zia, wherever you are. Got your first name wrong.
I can clarify that.
Yeah.
More probably with the supplement, but Mohammed is listed as the officer, director of the business, where my main contact is
Ibrahim.
who is signed. the
And
application.
what is
Authorized
what is Ibrahim's role?
He's the authorized representative on behalf of the.
He's an agent of the corporation. Thank you. Okay. On to the other matter. Brooke, could you put up the slide that has the entrance rendering, the color,
The pictures?
the picture? Yeah.
Almost. Yep, there you are.
So way over here on the bottom right is a color drawing of the entrance of the building. I have a few question areas around this. What is the device at the top? Is that a cover for a pool? The white thing way at the top above Fairfield by Marriott? Or is that just a shade for a patio, or anybody know what that is?
I defer to the architect, but I'm pretty sure it's for sun deflection of incoming shadows.
For whom? For
There's no
pool?
pool of them.
There's no pool.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Let's talk
I think
about,
it's architectural detail, but
okay. Is this a standard design for Fairfield? Okay, well, that's a question maybe you can answer next time, Mr. Lynch. It looks like a quite modern design to me. And I'm not sure, but I think I've probably seen other hotels that look, if not identical, quite similar. I want to read to you, provision of our bylaw. This is the section that has to do with setting up the districts. And it's called purpose of districts. And then the CBC, paragraph 1 says it is the intent of this district to create an attractive and desirable entrance to the center of Lee that preserves the existing historical architectural character of the corridor and the surrounding area, and that encompasses the highway corridor from the Massachusetts Turnpike exit 2 west on US Route 20 to High Street. A mix of commercial and residential uses is permitted with restrictions on building size and parking locations. Landscaping requirements are mandated in the front setback. In order to limit access points on Route 20, access on other streets and the use of common parking areas and driveways are encouraged. I want to talk specifically about the historical architectural character issue. This board has recently approved the construction of a project at the other end of town, and we made suggestions for architectural modifications that the developer, to my pleasure, agreed to. They put in quite a few changes that reflected the character of the existing downtown buildings, many of which are from the 1880s era, brick buildings with stone lintels and that sort of thing. This reflects nothing like that. It looks to me like it's a standard design and has nothing really special to reflect anything about Lee architecture. And I want to ask you whether you would be open, or your principals would be open to architectural modifications that would be more reflective of the existing architecture in Lee.
Is there examples or suggestions that you can make for them to consider? Because it's an aesthetic point, to the extent that this is a Fairfield by Marriott. I anticipate that there's certain design restrictions that they have to meet, with some gradations based upon locations and historic district requirements. We're not opposed to considering any of those things, but I certainly can't, I'm not in a position to make a commitment to that.
No, I understand. I appreciate that.
I would guess they probably have a design that is more fitting to a New England historic district.
They're a nationwide company, or they're a worldwide company,
Yeah.
really. And I'm sure that they run into odd little boards here and there around the world that have their own things that they want.
And again, I'm committed to doing that. I'm just wondering, what architectural standard are we measuring ourselves against? Is it Starbucks, the Quality Inn, Dunkin' Donuts, or downtown historic, the more historic district, which is outside of the
Main Street corridor.
Look
By
at-
way of comparison, what we did on that application he's referring to,
Yeah,
we had the architect in here. We talked to him about it. He made some major concessions in it.
Yep.
They came to Lee, drove around, looked at that section of town, made an assessment of what would be more compatible, and then made those adjustments accordingly. So, I mean, there was a cooperative,
yes.
you
Yeah,
follow me?
I 100% follow you. I understand exactly where the request is coming from, and I'm just trying to gauge the scope, so when I talk to my client,
Yeah,
he can have some context.
I don't know the exact answer. There's two ways of looking at this. One is the one you suggested, I think, which is look at the highway corridor, take some photographs of buildings, but those are mostly residential buildings. And certainly the Starbucks is the newest thing down there. And it's not the historic aspect of the town that we're talking about.
Right on Main Street. That's what the other.
Yeah, the other way to look at it is to look at the old Main Street starting here in north, and that's what they did. I'm not saying you have to do that, but it's something you
Maybe-
could discuss.
maybe we are.
Maybe we are, okay.
No, I understand.
And also the height is a big issue for some community members and possibly for board members. And so, having an idea of whether a 3-story hotel is possible, might at some point come up. I don't know if you want to, it's your strategy to decide whether to mention that or not, but it might affect the outcome as to whether if we were to insist on 3 stories, it's a deal killer for you.
Yeah, I think in Mr. Decker's questions, he asked that, and I think the give and take, if 75 keys is the number of rooms that sort of makes this economically the sort of sweet spot where we're trying to get to, I think it does lead to an increased spread
Yeah.
of the footprint of the building.
And then on that
Which
lot,
impacts-
it may not work on that lot. Yeah,
As well as we want to, or being as protective as we're anticipating to the brook, right?
yeah.
I
Appreciate that.
understand the question.
So if you can address that, I think that I would appreciate hearing your thoughts on it.
Absolutely.
It's not a requirement. That's all I have. Thank you.
Dan,
Well, we got a lot of people here, so just a couple quick questions. Does this Marriott, they have, are they gonna be offering food service and conference games for folks to come and host events? I ask, cause that's gonna kind of spin off of 10, if there's only 5 spots for employees and you have an auction.
I'll spin that into the answer to the question about employee count and what's offered. I assume they must have some kind of offerings at the desk, or in the conference area for breakfast. I don't know that for sure.
And then, you know, I know you kind of went through the master plan and, you know, I'm a sales guy, so why is this? You feel the town of Lee needs this? Or why does the applicant feel like we
I
need
think the
this?
town manager summarized it pretty well in the newspaper article today. He recognizes that the tax base in Lee needs to see how it can be expanded. We're making a proposal here for a redevelopment of an much underutilized site immediately on the highway corridor. This is, I think this type of style of hotel has been successful and has now proven itself successful in Lenox in a couple of locations. I think replicating that in Lee, especially in this location, is going to invite visitors to the Berkshires that may not otherwise have been looking to get off of the exit right there, because there is a readily recognized hotel brand so close to the highway. So I see it as a real benefit for attracting people here, getting people to stay in Lee for the weekend or longer, and also that traveler along the Mass Pike. So I really think that's why Lee needs it. It's going to improve your tax base, provide revenue, and hopefully the visitors that are here are more than just a stopover on their travels west or east, and will start to utilize even more fully the downtown area that's so accessible and the stores that are immediately adjacent to this location.
anything else, Dan?
Good.
Okay,
And I guess my other, just on the 50-foot, that is a very recent edit to the zoning ordinance that was vetted for this area specifically.
it is. On that note,
Yeah.
would you be willing to put balloons at the 4 corners to give a perspective of what that 50 feet would look like? Because I think a lot of people think it's going to be a skyscraper that is over the tree line, and 50 feet is below the tree line. Is that a possibility?
Possibility.
Yeah, we'll talk to our client about that. And
I think that would help a lot. So as far as my questions, or requests, I would like to see that. And like Peter said, let's get your architects. Show us a good plan, show us elevations with colors, with
Materials.
with design, appearance,
And materials. you mentioned,
materials. We put, the Canal Street project, the architect almost was offended at a few times at some of our suggestions, but
We
yeah,
didn't,
he came
we
around.
didn't redesign it, but we made general suggestions that he quite graciously accepted.
Yeah.
And found ways to implement them.
There's that. So you're gonna update your lighting plan. Yeah, so building elevations in your drawings, materials, colors. And
Landscaping.
landscape plan, that was in yours.
But these balloons, are you gonna have them at the height of the roof?
The top of the roof, yes.
Okay.
And then that would give
Four corners of the building and.
four corners of the building, if we could do that, and that would give,
Photograph it.
yep, give us perspective as to what 50 feet really looks like.
And not on a windy day. No, negative wind.
Yeah,
Would you want to schedule that as a site visit, the board? Do it, or just,
We can't
I-
schedule no wind.
yeah, no, that's true. I would like, when you do it, if we could get a notification out.
Okay.
And we could let people know, okay?
We've done it on windy days with tie down, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. We could get that done. So at this point, I guess we'll open it up for the public. You heard our lengthy questions that they're going away with. If we try not to repeat that, maybe everyone can get a say, okay? And when you come up, please state your name and where you live in town.
Did we have a sign up list?
Yes, it's up there. Yep.
So Carol, okay,
I excuse myself. I'll be back.
thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate hearing about them. I have a few comments that I'd like to make.
Your name and where you are, please.
I'm at 150 Maple Street. So I live directly behind this proposed site. Actually elevated, so I look down at it.
So you can see the existing now?
Yeah.
Okay, just
Yeah.
in winter or now? Both, okay.
But I have some few further comments, and I put it in writing for you because I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll just summarize it really quickly and you'll have it there. I would like to say, just to start with, that I would like to recommend a site visit by all of you, just so you can see the layout of the topography is such that the proposed site is going to be highly visible for those of us who live above it, particularly things like the lighting and the noise. And so I think that would be worthwhile for you to see. Tonight, I really just want to talk about three different points. One is that there are many inaccuracies and omissions in the site plan that I think I'd like to draw your attention to some of them, but it would probably be worthwhile to have an independent reviewer read the whole plan through and identify all of the inaccuracies and omissions and inconsistencies. And then I'm going to talk a bit about some of the zoning, and then finally about the vision for the CBC. Sort of, Peter already brought it up, but I think it's worth expanding on. I gave you a list of some of the omissions and inaccuracies and inconsistencies that I found, and just to mention a few of them. There's the application fails to acknowledge certain features of the sites, like, well, I had limits on building height because I didn't know about the recent amendment, but things like the extension site are well beyond what's allowed in the code. One is that, if I understand it correctly, and I'm reading it, the zoning code as a total amateur and, someone who's not an expert, but I'm just trying to bring common sense to the interpretation of what I see in the town's bylaws. My understanding is that parking is supposed to, in the CBC, is supposed to be in the back and around the sides. And we have a considerable space for parking in front of it, which is supposed to be dedicated to landscaping in order to maintain this village-like ambiance that the CBC is supposed to convey to visitors that come in. There's very few measurements in the plan that I could see, so it's hard to say, how long are the walls? How wide are the passageways around the driveways around? That's another one. And then a third one that I really think is worth mentioning is that throughout the whole plan, the plan says that the square footage of the hotel is 11,577 feet. But I believe that's the footprint of the hotel. If you divide that amount, the 11,000 square feet by 75 rooms, you get feet that are about approximately 10 by 15. And that's not even including any corridors or lobbies or any kind of service areas. So if that is indeed the square footage, I think of the footprint, the square footage of the entire hotel is actually closer to 50,000 feet. If it's 4 stories. So that really needs, that's a crucial thing to be corrected. A couple other inconsistencies. The size of the lot is inconsistently cited as 3.2 and 3.6 acres. The parking allowances, I think it misrepresents the zoning code 199 8.7 on the parking requirements. The code calls for 200 square feet for every guest accommodated in the hotel, whereas the site plan provides for 1 parking space per room. And it sometimes, in one place, it says 1 parking space per bed. So I think the number that the Pilgrim Inn currently has 2 parking spaces per room, assuming that there's going to be 2 guests staying in each room, which is not unreasonable. And so I think the number of parking spaces really needs to be looked at much more carefully, particularly considering what someone already brought up about only allowing for five employees at any given time. And then someone's already mentioned, oh, there's one other thing that's important because I think it dovetails into Conrad's comments, which is the site plan states that the flow at the Pilgrim Inn is 2,400 gallons per day. And at the new hotel, it will be 7,500. And they say that this is a 3,100 gallons per day increase. But actually, that's a 5,100 gallon per day increase. If you do the subtraction, which is pretty basic. So that's a significant deviance, variation, it's a significant error. And it's important because one of the conditions for the special permit is that the proposed project not overload the public water and sewage systems.
This is,
Pardon?
I'm on the Board of Public Works also. The plant will handle more than we.
Okay, but you know, they misstate what the flow is. And so it's all of these little things that I think really make it, that call for someone to go through the whole plan and see what else is in there that is inconsistent or just not explained. The other thing now that I'm confused by, frankly, is the site plan. And if I turn this around, your diagram around, so I can just explain what I'm talking about. So there's not really a very exact zoning map for the town. So it's hard to say exactly where the zoning line falls. You know, if you're just looking at the map, I understand the surveyor did it, but today I looked at the deed for the Pilgrim Inn when it conveyed to the Patels in 1988, and it lists this area going from the road back to R20 as approximately 175 feet. And then going from here back to these saplings that are said to be included as part of the site, that's another 175 feet. So from here to here, it's actually 300 and about 350 feet. And what I don't understand is the 50-foot extension, because if this is the district line, 50 feet would be something like, I don't know, to about here. And so it doesn't allow for all of this parking, not to mention this parking. So
Do you want that addressed?
I would
Okay,
like.
so the split zone, the 50 feet for a split zone, the bylaw, how has been changed a few years ago. It allows the frontage side to be extended 50 feet.
Right.
Okay, so that's the CBC can be extended 50 feet, which puts the building well within the CBC, which puts that in compliance with our bylaw as required by site plan. The parking lots in R20 are allowed by, special permit. So that 50 feet doesn't affect them at all. That is a totally different issue.
So you're saying parking could go on indefinitely or?
Not the part, no, the 50 feet is about the CBC district, which the building maintains in there. The parking lots are allowed by special permit, which is going on right here.
So so I understand like there's a special permit to make the extension and then there's a special permit to put parking. in
We got
the
about,
extension.
we have three, not into the extension, into the R20.
Which is gonna be, well, the extension is, well.
It wouldn't
so
matter.
This is the 50-foot.
Yeah,
So I'm misunderstanding. This is the extension and then this is something separate.
Yep.
For parking in.
the parking
So
is a separate,
Basically, it's another extension, but.
no, it's a separate special permit. The 50 feet is a special permit because of the split zone,
I see.
okay?
Um. Okay, I hadn't understood that, I hadn't understood that it works
I
that
hope
way
I
at all. I would just like to, make another point that my understanding is that it's true that the current site is non-conforming, pre-existing, but that doesn't automatically convey to the new site, correct?
Actually, this one would be in compliance. The new one,
Right, so
Yeah.
none of the non-conformities
No.
are conveying, okay. So that's good to know, and then finally, I'd just like to talk about the vision for this, for the CBC, because I think this is a really critical point that maybe sometimes in the details of, drainage and, building materials and all that kind of thing, maybe this whole sort of intent of the zoning code gets lost. And I think for the residents of the town, it's really important that it not. I disagree actually that, since there's already Starbucks and McDonald's and Dunkin' in the CBC, why don't, what difference does it make to put in another, a Marriott hotel? It's just kind of consistent with the existing character of it. But I would argue that the existing character of Starbucks and the other, fast food chains are not consistent with the intent of the CBC. The town code says explicitly that the CBC will provide an attractive setting, maintain aesthetic sensitivity and compatibility with the surrounding community, and minimize overall impact of development on the surrounding neighborhood. And it repeatedly emphasizes the village type atmosphere that it wants to have along that corridor as the gateway into downtown Lee. It's not meant to be a strip mall. I do understand the emphasis on growth in the tax base. I'm totally for that. I don't agree that the CBC is the place to put that. If you want to put in a 4-story hotel, hell, why not a 10-story hotel? We've got 102. There are other areas where that would be appropriate. But putting a massive building of this size in the midst of buildings that very few of which exceed 2 stories, even a 3-story building is going to be of that scale, is just going to overwhelm the rest of the CBC corridor. And I think it will present a really unflattering view of the town as people come into it. People are going to just see it as a drive-through zone and say, okay, maybe spend the night here, but man, this, I'm here in the Berkshires. I want to see like local color. I could experience this in, northern New Jersey, where I just came from. I don't see any difference. So I'd really like to ask the planning board that you think about these kind of things sensitively and carefully, and understand that, all of us who are living in the town, we don't see the town as Dunkin' and McDonald's, even while those are improving the tax base, they're not improving our lives by living here. And, maintaining the quality of life, particularly for the people who are right in the surrounding area of this proposed hotel, it's equally important to expanding the tax base. I'd say it's even more important. We're all taxpayers too. So, I made a fuller statement in this letter, but I really hope that you're able to bear in mind the purpose and read again the bylaws if you haven't. Look at the zoning, at descriptions of the intent of these zones and what they're supposed to do, and bear that in mind as you make your decisions. I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Sarah Nichols, and
And where do you live?
I live at 1620 Pleasant Street, but I own the property at 22 Fuller Street.
Okay.
So, I understand you guys are bound by legalities and the code and whatnot. But kind of going off of what Attorney Lynch said, he made a statement that, you know, there's gonna be very minimal impact on the neighbors around. And I think most of the people behind me disagree with that statement. And so this is kind of our feelings as a neighborhood, the close-knit neighborhood. So, good evening. My name is Sarah Nichols, and I'm the owner of properties located at 22 Fuller Street and 1620 Pleasant Street. My family has owned our home on Fuller Street for 42 years. I'm here today to express my concerns and my neighbors' concerns regarding the proposed development at 165 Housatonic Street, commonly known as Hook Mint. My concerns are shared by many of my neighbors. We have serious concerns about increased traffic, ambient lighting, noise, ongoing maintenance, and overall public safety. I am 40 years old, and I can speak to how the property has aged alongside me. Unfortunately, its current condition is not simply the result of age, but rather 5 years of neglect, poor management, and inadequate maintenance. Nowhere in the plan or any of the assurances that have been given have we seen meaningful guarantees that the new development will be properly maintained or that it will not eventually fall into the same state of disrepair. This property is frequently visited by the Lee Police Department, State Police, EMS personnel, and emergency services. Emergency services respond to calls at this location approximately twice a week. It depends on what the call is. Some are domestic violence issues, there's unwanted parties, and then there's medical calls also. Despite the ongoing issues, management has done little to address the underlying concerns or reassure neighboring residents that adequate measures are being taken to promote safety and reduce the disruptions. I'm concerned about all the zoning implications. I'm not going to go into them because we've gone over them time and time again. The property owner has not demonstrated the level of engagement within the community that many residents would expect from someone proposing a project of this magnitude. Those of us who live here daily understand that this proposal is simply not compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods and its residential character. If the property owner took part in our community, he would see the numerous negative implications of this project also. While we all can agree that improvements to the existing property are needed, those improvements should not come at the expense of the residents who live nearby. This proposal raises legitimate concerns about privacy, property values, neighborhood character, aesthetics, public safety, and the environmental stewardship. Residents deserve clear assurances that these issues will be addressed before any approvals are granted. I respectfully ask the board to consider the long-term implications of this project on the surrounding neighborhood and the families who invested their lives, homes, and futures in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Do we have that? Yes.
Anyone else?
I don't have a written statement. My name is Eleanor Velez. I live on 120 Maple Street. I'm a person who made a home in Lee, Massachusetts for coming to summer camp in Beckett, Beckett. When I was a kid, I used to watch a movie with Meryl Streep and Nelson Neiman or Neiman Nelson, whatever his name is. And I remember going to church in Lee. I moved to the Berkshires because of that New England town. I have family members who come and visit and stay at the Red Lion, even if they have to go down the hallway to share a bathroom. We know that they just opened a place called Prospect. Doesn't look like a Fairfield. We know that in North Adams, we have Mass Mocha, we have porches, we have tourists. People don't want to vacation in the Berkshires to go to places like we were talking, a hotel near to an airport or anything like that. I live on 120 Maple Street. That's not a highway corridor, that's my neighborhood. It's a walking distance from the graveyard. It's a walking distance from the schools and the high schools. It's a walking distance to downtown. It's not a highway corridor. It's our neighborhood, it's our town. Would be great to have a nice hotel there, but that doesn't look appealing to me at all. I'm sorry. I don't want to be insulting to the people who want to make a buck, but we can go to Price Chopper in Lenox. That's a highway corridor. Urban renewal or blight or however you want to call it, that's not me. That's not the town that I love, where my children grew up, where I am fighting to keep a house, because even if my children have moved out of town, I want them to come back home to visit grandma in the Berkshires, not by the parking lot next to the hotel when I go to Bradley, because that's what my backyard is going to look like. So this is a very important town to me, and I'm sure it's important to you as all of us. And development is important. This is outdated. It's not where people want to stay in a hotel anymore. So that's just a comment out of my gut. And thank you. Please continue taking care of us. We really are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gerard Fogarty. I live on Mason Street. Just wanted to give you my comments. Listening to the less than thorough presentation that this draft proposal is in front of you. One of the things that I'm curious about is there any contractual agreement between a Marriott or Fairfield or whoever that would perhaps change one's thinking as to how this project may or may not evolve into something other than what may be presented at the moment. A second bit that come to mind is the applicants are asking for 3 special permits. You don't have to grant them any of them. That's at your discretion. And in doing so, perhaps consideration for architectural design, building materials, leaving the trees that are currently in existence along Housatonic Street, as opposed to pulling those out. It's that in and of itself changes the whole appearance of the entryway. And in your discretion, you also have the ability to require regulations, not the right word, dictate architectural things like the height of the building, setbacks, architectural materials, and very importantly to the abutters, lighting. Having a few years as a lighting designer for a major US corporation, lighting affects the neighborhood hugely. And it's very difficult to protect the way light flows over border lines. The shield that might be described in a description of a particular light fixture doesn't necessarily prevent light from shining into my bedroom window or your bedroom window as an abutter. major consideration should be given to that particular issue, in my opinion, with leanings towards having lighting coming in and not projecting out on wall packs, which we've all seen the glare that comes off of these kind of structures, hotel structures or big box structures. And it might be behoove you to get an independent study of how best to protect neighbors from light pollution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Alex Pettinger. I live on Silver Street here in Lee. I, first of all, want to commend the planning board for your thoughtful questions, all 4 pages of them, plus all the rest of the questions that came up. I came here today mostly because I wanted to learn more about this project. I think you have all raised really great questions. I do think that, that Lee could use a hotel, and the one we have at the Pilgrim is not the welcoming, small town, village look that I have been proud to represent. So I do think that there are opportunities here for an improvement on that property, both for the aesthetics. I appreciate that you brought up the New England look. If you go to the Great Barrington Fairfield, they've got peaked roofs and they've got a little fence and they've, you know, a little white picket fence. So I think that there are, you just Google and look at the images, Marriott Fairfield. And look at the images all over the place. Like there's one in the White Mountains that looks like a chalet. So I think there are ways that Marriott will adapt. I know I'm the director of the Chamber of Commerce. I get calls for people looking for hotels. There are not very many that I can recommend here in Lee. There's, we have a couple of lovely inns. We have, the Quality Inn. We have a few places, but those may be filled up. So I have to send people to Langs, to the Courtyard, or to the Element Hotel, or to one of the other, the Hampton Inn. So I do think that there are opportunities here for us to be a destination for people. I don't think that people will just come here for one night and it's just, they're on the, if you're on the Mass Pike and you're going east, wouldn't you just drive 2 more hours to get to Boston? Why would you stop in Lee anyway? I think people would come here and they would stay. They would stay here for skiing in the winter. They'll stay here in the summer and they will frequent our businesses. And I also find that there are businesses in town, particularly some of the larger ones, like there was someone here from Sharp Sterile tonight, Boyd, Onyx Paper, some of the other places where when they have vendors or they have partners coming here, there's no place for them to stay in Lee. So they end up staying in Great Barrington, or they end up staying further up in Lenox or in Pittsfield. So what I would love to see is you guys keep pressing them to get those lighting plans so that it doesn't impact the local residents. Look at the traffic flow so that that is safe and doesn't become overwhelming. Look at the 4 stories versus a larger footprint. Again, all of your questions, which we didn't even answer the questions, you only asked the questions. I think that there's an opportunity here that if it gets shook out the right way, could be something that's really good for the town of Lee. So thank you all. I didn't even get a pitchfork from that.
Thank you, Alex. Anyone else? Nope.
Hey, Ron, my name is Holly Jones. I live on 125 Mountain View Terrace. And I thought I might be the only one here in favor of this plan, but thanks for speaking up in support. I know that the hotel is good for jobs, it's good for our economy. And I agree that there are a lot of things to consider and clarify in this proposal, including all of the questions that you all asked and a lot of questions that we have on our minds. And I can't imagine being a neighbor who would be directly impacted by this project or having it in my view or in my backyard. But I do think there are a lot of benefits to this proposal, and it's a really exciting opportunity for our town. The hotel room tax is 11.7% per room, and the town would have 6% of those earnings, which is really exciting. How we could pump some more money into the Lee economy. I work for an arts and culture sector in this Berkshires. I'm going to start again. I work for an arts and culture organization in the Berkshire that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars putting up artists from around the world. Some of that money we spend here in Lee. A lot of time we're going to Lenox, to Pittsfield, to Great Barrington, where there are hotels of size and amenity that can accommodate these world-class artists who are coming here to perform, to be part of our really exciting and vibrant arts and culture community. It's a shame when I have to call up all those other hotels, and I would love to keep that money here in Lee. I think it's tax dollars, I think it's jobs, I think it's tourism that we would really benefit from, and I hope you all will take that into consideration. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hi there.
I'm Wendy Howe. I actually live at 530 Meadow Street in South Lee. So I'm not like directly impacted day to day.
Still a resident.
Yes, I'm still a resident.
That's right.
By South Lee versus Lee. I totally disagree with what the woman prior to me speaking said. I think this will will benefit the tax base. Yes. But the quality of life for the people who are living right around there, and for going into town every day, or whenever you go into town, you're going to be passing this massive building. And I don't think it's going to be full all the time. I think it's going to be a lot of empty space, so you're not going to be getting tax revenue. I also think the situation with the parking seems a little bizarre, because if people are going to be coming off the pike like a Mack truck, where is that going to park? And then where are the other people going to park if they claim that the hotel is going to be full? You see it all the time when my husband and I just drove from here to Florida to go on vacation, and we zipped off the road, stayed in a place like this, and then zipped right back on the road and kept going. So I don't think people are going to go into downtown. I don't think they're going to shop locally, which I think will hurt the downtown. So that's all I really have to say. Literally, I don't want to speak in public.
Thank you. All right. We all set with public comment?
No, wait a minute.
Save the best for last?
My name is Nelson Daly. I live on Maple Street on the other section. You know, I just spoke to some people, they thought, the thing is too big for the area. I mean, it's a residential area. The thing is, humongous. There's not a lot of snow there. They won't, nobody comes up skiing if there's no snow. So I think it's just too big for the area. Especially when you discussed how high it is. If you live on that side of Maple Street, you listen down, the lights are all on, you know what I mean? It is just too big, maybe I know they're trying to go in 2 stories or 3 stories. And at Barnes's Brook, when it overflowed, they come by my house, it's like Niagara Falls. And if you look at the brook, then you didn't show up, I wish you would, then you too, I'd like to show it. Don't look as big as my house, maybe the water doesn't even go where it's supposed to go quite a while. But it's, when you look at, and most of the people on there are residential people. And I know everybody's excited about the taxes for the Lee gets the taxes. If they don't have, they just raise your taxes. If anybody's taxes go up for the Lee, they got their bill. Oh, none of you guys got your taxes raised? You must have click or something. Most of us got our taxes raised. They raise your taxes. Enough for the move. You can't get out. It's not a question of money. It's a question of, and if you notice, I've ever noticed, because you guys don't live around. The guys come up the turnpike 80, 90. They go down Housatonic Street 80, 90. They go up Fuller Street. down my street, the speed limit's 20, they're doing 40, 50, 60, you don't even know if it's a car or a motorcycle, you know, the young kids and people that's interesting. But I think it, some people said that they wouldn't mind, I don't, people say go way too strong, you know, something small. And you definitely gotta see how many feet that portion person is going to be, you know what I mean? If that thing's way over the trees and everybody's gonna be looking down, I think, not a good idea. And most of the people around there are residential in the town. But everybody talk to the townspeople, do a tax. But you should get money from people's taxes, everybody's house, and they split up. Not that you can't find the money somewhere else, you know, I just think it's too big for the area. And for the people that live on that side of Maple Street, I live on the poor side. But anyway, I just think it's too big, and before they do anything, it'd be really something that the neighbors like. Now with the people down like because of the high taxes.
Does the neighborhood like what's there now?
Well, I just there now.
Just
because
curious.
I'm not gonna tell you what's there now, and I know what's going on, they're gonna put friends, everybody around there. No, they're not serious, but I'm just saying, oops, somebody's high, that sucker's gonna be. It's a good idea to measure, it's gonna be way over the trees, maybe they should put it on the tree, a couple of the trees, so you won't see the deal, you know what I mean? I just-
Couple redwoods. Yeah.
Any apple trees, anything, or as long as it's over that building, things might be ugly for the people that live around. And you can cut it down, not that they would, you know, they might. They get a neighborhood, you know, these. You guys are in charge. Can you call him?
Could I just leave you with one more observation? If this goes in the way it's planned, I'm going to have 37 hotel rooms, windows, looking into my living room and my bedroom. Everyone up there is going to be facing this situation. So yes, the lighting is serious, but just the lack of privacy is going to be devastating.
You get to look at theirs too. I'm kidding, just a joke. Goes, oh,
I mean, it's not something to be facetious about, but that's really a serious concern. And
It
it's
is.
not that far away from my house. And my neighbors are gonna be facing the same thing. People across the street, Nelson is gonna have the same thing. So that's why I encourage you to come up and look at this site.
I really think so, and see what the buffer is like, cause on this, it looks like there's a good buffer, but maybe there's not. Okay, come on up, Mark.
Just a quick question. How high is the buildings in Eagle Mill? Are those look like they're 4 stories. I'm just curious.
I believe they are. I believe they're in this range. And also, in another perspective, Hyde Place, if you're on Railroad Street, that's a full 4 stories on Railroad Street. It's 3 on Main Street.
This building is 3.5.
This is 3.5. Across the street at one time was 4 stories. They took one down years ago. So 4 stories is not, but I think,
I understand context.
yeah, and
I was just curious.
yeah,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
sure.
So, we have one, I want to make a final request after they finish, but we're not done.
Hi, my name is Bill Gates. I live on 60 Hoosick Street. And I used to do commercial buildings. That's what I retired from doing. I live in Lee because it's the gateway to the Berkshires. It's a small town. We have a small town feel. We try to attract people to come to the Berkshires for them reasons. For bed and breakfasts. He did mention that there are Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, but they forgot to mention that Rose's Cafe fits in nice. I live on the street. Tina's hairdressing shops on the street fits in, looks really good. Agave's, a very popular new Mexican restaurant, that looks really good. So when you come into the Berkshires and you see places that are a small town feel, that's why you come here. This Quality Inn or Marriott doesn't have that feel in any shape or form. One thing that you don't understand, that I understand too personally is living on Housatonic Street is when you go out into the road at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's a little emotional. And someone has been hit by a car, killed from going one commercial building to another. It leaves an impression you don't want to see living on the gateways to the Berkshires. So the traffic footprint, the aesthetics of the building, all aside, the homeowners, what we're doing is we're disrupting a small town feel to the gateway to the Berkshires. If you want to put a hotel up, help the quality for the economics, then on Route 102. We got plenty of room. All those businesses that we're talking to, all the artisans are going between Stockbridge, Sharps down there, they're on 102. Their people can go there. There's plenty of properties on there. We don't need a 4-story motel. I don't care what it looks like on Housatonic Street at the gateway to the Berkshires. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay,
Jim,
sure.
could I just make a request, too, actually? For the applicant, I wonder if you could provide us with your franchise agreement that exists. I would like to know under what terms the operation is going to continue and with what certainty it'll be consistent over time. If a Clearfield Inn opens under Marriott supervision, will it remain under Marriott supervision? And can I assess that from the franchise agreement? That's why I'm asking for it.
I will have to review that with
Yeah,
not only my client, but also Marriott. I don't know what the confidentiality provisions are. I haven't seen it myself.
okay, well,
I
appreciate
understand
your-
the context of why you're asking, and I can probably address that or try to address that without disclosing
I think the,
proprietary information from franchise agreements.
yeah, a statement would be probably fine. Yeah.
I think what you're going with here, say, depends how this comes out, okay? Would we, if there was, the conditions were not met that we put on the special permits, do we talk to the owner or are we gonna be talking to Marriott?
I don't know the answer to
That would probably, because Marriott would have more money behind them to do things that we request, all that.
Well, also, I'm worried that if things don't work out, Marriott pulls out and the building is still there and we don't know what comes next.
Yeah, that'd be an issue.
The other thing is, Mr. Gates made a comment about what he would like to see in the CBC district. And I've struggled with this as a member of this board for about 10 years. And I'm going to ask you for advice. If you want to send another letter to Brooke to answer this question. What should the CBC zone look like, particularly with regard to hotels in 10 or 20 years? We've got, at one end, we've got billboards and McDonald's and Dunkin'. At the other end, we've got lovely little old-fashioned houses that are charming, albeit right along the highway, US Route 20. And we have a bylaw that says, excuse me just a moment, bylaw that says we should maintain aesthetic sensitivity and compatibility with the surrounding community. I'm going to tell you, I'll try to make this short, but it's a cute little story that I knew a legislator once in Vermont who had been a Navy captain at the Pentagon, and he worked for a rear admiral, and he wasn't happy with the rear admiral because the rear admiral would say to him, as his captain told it to me, he'd say, "Go out and find me a rock," to the captain. And the captain would go out. It was not a rock, but it was an idea, a plan or something. And he'd bring back a rock. He called it a rock. And the admiral would say, "No, not that rock. Get me another rock." So that went on for 2 years or whatever the captain's duration was under the vice admiral. And I don't want to decide cases as though they're rocks and I just don't like this rock, bring me another rock. I'd like to have some idea of what people in the town think this area ought to look like, especially if we're gonna have the hotels that were discussed and that may be needed. We're gonna have hotels, what are they gonna look like and where are they gonna be? Maybe the answer is 102. The Route 20 corridor is commercially valuable. There's a lot more traffic on Route 20 than there is on 102. And anybody in their right mind is gonna wanna have people going by their business. So think about that, and if you wanna write more, please do. Because I just don't want it to be, this ain't the right rock, you know, and we don't know what the right rock looks like, but this ain't it. I just don't want to decide it that way unless we have to. Thank you.
The other thing is we have a mess down there where it is down there right now. It's transient folks live in there and it's.
And we have a reason to want to have something there, something different.
Yeah, we gotta, and maybe this isn't it, but there's gotta be something there to be compatible that eliminates the problems down there now.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm blocked by the
Eleanor's.
easel. Come on up.
I'm sorry. Going back to the fact that we live in a very touristic and cultural area. 2 nights ago, after the opening of a play in Pittsfield, we walked to Hotel on North. And it was wonderful. But Hotel on North feels like it belongs in downtown Pittsfield. And I was looking at the parking lot that they tore down, and they, I don't know who the developer is, but they just redid the buildings. And I was like, oh, they redid these. It doesn't, it looks nice, it looks clean, it looks like downtown Pittsfield a little bit better. And so that would be the kind of rock. I love to walk downtown and have a drink in a nice hotel, but I would love to feel like I do when I am in the Berkshires. Because truly people travel to come to the Berkshires because it is the Berkshires and we are the gateway to the Berkshires. So that's a kind of rock.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So. Will I talk about 102?
Okay.
A lot of talk has been, well, it should just go on 102. We have to, if you know our zoning, the left side as you go towards Stockbridge, the left is all industrial. The right side, as we spoke tonight about split zone, that whole right side is a split zone. So any project like this would not be possible. You go past Sharp, past the railroad tracks, that's all split all the way down. That's why 102 is the reason why we changed and gave this 50 feet to try to get something in there. Any project this size would not be possible down there. And also Highfield Drive would be in the backyard and everybody on Highfield Drive would be in here tonight. So that's something to think about.
This hotel, if I travel, I love planning my own trips. I would stay in this hotel because I could walk to town. If it was 102, I don't think it would meet all of these like, oh, it's so Berkshire-y, sensibilities.
I think
Even if it's a Fairfield, I would stay there because the price is right, the location is right. I know it's a clean hotel and great, I can walk to Agaves and Roses and the Starving Artist and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Put it in where the price chopper is.
Yeah. Well, that would be a great idea. If only one of us had like $10 million, we could make it happen. But instead, we just want something else to make it happen. So that's
Yes.
a tricky thing.
Talk to Muhammad, maybe he'll sell it to you.
He would sell it.
All right, so in recapping, folks, think we'll be able to fly some balloons?
It sounds like a feasible idea.
Okay,
I don't
if
know
it
how
is.
feasible it is from a organizational standpoint. and how
Okay,
long it would
and
take
when
to
you,
organize that.
when you do, I mean, he mentioned they've done it. I think we should do a site visit when we get this done. You guys have done it before, right? So it is feasible. All right, that would give perspective as to how high this building is gonna be. Back to the drawing board with the architect. See what we can find there.
Civil. The civil.
And the civil, yep. Yep,
Chairman, I think we should continue the public hearing so that we can resume the public hearing and not trigger the timeline for the final decision.
correct. Yes. Yep. And,
You, the public, when you do the buildings, is that already, you know, so we can have a sense of or.
Brooke, how could we, besides on the website?
So the only other time that we've ever done that was the applicant paid for, that's for wireless communications network, and that was required by the applicant. But it did-
Which would be the best way to post it, do you think, Marilyn? Where people could,
You're right. Fine, we just mail us letters.
that feasible or too costly?
A letter.
Your tax dollars, you want us to spend money on that?
These findings, all of our mail has to go to Hartford and then back to Lee, we didn't know local mail anymore, so as long as it was a while out, we scheduled it.
Suggestion if we have a lot of questions to answer, ideas, to process with my client, would it make sense to maybe continue the hearings for 3 weeks? And then set a site visit date? at
Yep.
that Hearing so that it's done in public hearing, and I think that satisfies the notes.
That would work, right? So. Look
I
at,
don't know what the 3 week.
so at this point, yep. We will continue this public hearing till July 13th. At 6:15.
I move that the public hearing be continued until Monday, July 13th at 6:15 PM. Please be quiet.
Folks,
Please be
we
quiet.
still have a meeting.
Eleanor, please be quiet.
Use your gavel.
Do I have? All right, so we have a motion to continue?
Did you hear my motion? Yeah.
Yes.
6:15 on the 13th of July.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll do that.
Dave seconds. Conrad?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. We're continued till 6:15 on the 13th. Okay?